live ku Facebook.
Okay.
Okay, I think Facebook, no YouTube, but live.
Oh, beautiful.
Inento wena yondisokolisa le camera. I don't know but kuxa kutheni na ivele nje
Yeah.
ingavumi tu kwikhompyutha. Ngenye
Uh,
imini iphinde ivume. Kodwa ke sihamba nazo man, i-technology
yeah.
ifika silapha sinabanjwa yiyo.
Ila asinakoyiswa yiyo. Asinakoyiswa yiyo.
Banjani ekhaya Bhungane, ba-right?
No, base right kakhulu. Kamba umeme beke wathi bekhaya kwiveke ephelileyo. Kodwa ke besibuya kunye ngoLwesibini, bekothi bekhaya eGauteng. Kodwa ke sikunye ngokunentombi.
Okay. Hayi xa nilapha eRhawutini next time banozodlula nalapha endlini. Nathi silapha.
Alala, sakwenje njalo. Kuba ikhaya lakhe likwelo cala. So mane siza
Okay.
Yes.
Hayi ke siyafana mos ngoba nam ndathatha ndagawula intonga kwezi zizwe.
Bendifunda kanye loo ndawo apha ezintsukwini. Nalaa serial yayocelwa phaa. Kanti kuzikela
Hey, ukhona omnye bendibalisela ngalo serial apha evekini. Uthi naye uyihlekile xa ifika kuloo ndawo leyo.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to check now up on Facebook over on now, and then we can get started. Yes, then we can get started. Ngoba ke abantu banezinto zokwenza ezininzi ngecawa, abanye basafuna ulungiselela ungomso. You know, abanye bafuna ukuphumla. Ndiyathemba noko into yoba ngaba ilizwe licwengile ngoku, izolo iChiefs icwengise ilizwe lonke.
Alizolisa, alizinzisa.
Kuthe cwaka ngoku akuvana, I'm sure namadoda ngoku asezindlini zawo arelaxile.
Dala sincotela koSalenga apha Salenga. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Ladies and gentlemen, we are starting our program this afternoon. I'd like to welcome you all for this beautiful program that we're going to be talking about, a program of survival. A program of survival. It is always good to hear stories of survival rather than stories that end in hopelessness. These stories that we share are stories that give hope to people that are going through different kinds of issues. And so today, I'm happy, I'm so excited to be discussing a story of survival, a story of hope, a story that is intended to give other people who may be going through all different challenges to say, man, okwangoku I may be in this trouble, but things can turn around for me. That is what is the most important thing that we're wanting to do today. And I want to welcome all our viewers who have joined us either on YouTube or on Facebook, and those that will be watching later, because I know that because Sunday is sometimes a busy day, people have been busy over the weekend. Some are traveling from one place to another. Some people find time to watch these videos maybe during the week or later this evening. And I get a lot of calls from people who do that. And if some of you are able to watch now, please feel free to ask questions. You can type questions on your YouTube channel, or you can type questions on your Facebook page, and then we'll keep track of what is taking place there. Now, this channel is called Moments of Insight and Growth. It's a YouTube channel, and I'd like to invite you all to please subscribe to it, click your like buttons, We want to make sure that you get this information ahead of time. The purpose of this is to really inspire, to transform, to just inform people and educate people with as many issues as possible that are of spiritual nature, that of health, that of leadership, or whatever nature that is about to grow you as a human being and to grow us as a human being, to be informed, to be better people in whatever area of life which is important to us. And so today I am privileged to have a man who has gone through stuff and made it alive. And not only did he do that, he came out and wrote a book about this. You know, here is the book. Here is the book. The book is called Kukhulu Ukuthembeka Kwakhe, Umnyangi we XDR. And I'm sure those of you who do not understand isiXhosa, today you will get to know more about what does this statement mean. What is this topic or title about? And so this man I'm talking about, his name is Dr. Lukhanyo. Sorry, my thing keeps dropping here. And here I'm talking about Dr. Lukhanyo Elvis Makenyane, LK, as you can see here. And just to give a brief background about him, you know, so that everybody knows who I'm talking about here. I think it's important for people to understand that Gumbondo Zihlanjiwe lo, nguthambe odala kade bemqoqotha, nodizadala kade bemkhwahlaza, indoda enamava. And so we're gonna glean now from uPhopho uMakhwekhwetha. But now I'm just struggling with my device here. I'm just gonna try and get this from somewhere. You know, sometimes uSathana uyathanda ukwenza izinto zakhe, thinking that we won't be able to succeed. Let us sign him. Okay, there you go. Umtyholi uyathanda ukwenza izinto ecinga uba into ba uyasigqiba, but he can't do it because we come egameni lalo unamandla aphezu kwa wonke amandla khoyo ongendawo. I'm talking here about Dr. Lukhanyo Makenyane. This man holds a doctoral degree in literature and philosophy from the University of Fort Hare. Wow! Literature and philosophy from the University of Fort Hare, Kwano College, where he is also working as a lecturer in African language, in the African languages department. He holds a professional degree in education, where he majored in English and isiXhosa. He has taught isiXhosa at grade 12 level here in Gauteng, and before moving to lecturing at Sol Plaatje University in Kimberley. And in those years that he was there, he had 100% pass mark. This is an epitome of excellence. This is what we need among our community, people that are really, really, really consistent. If he missed 100%, the average would be 70%, nothing below that. It's amazing that we have such a commitment. And then he is the second person at the University of Fort Hare to write a PhD research paper. Listen to this. Gestos. Wow, 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 wow. In the mother tongue language, from wayibhala nje thesis yakho. You're going to tell us now how many pages, wayibhala ngesixhosa wayiqala eqaleni wathi woyigqiba. And yet there are some of us who struggle to read even a page in our mother tongue. And then what's interesting about your thesis is that you compared post-apartheid poetry of Zolani Mkiva, Imbongi yakwantu madoda, and Zwakhe Mbuli, also another Imbongi, the struggle poet. Man, that man played a big role. I'm so worried today that we don't see him anywhere in any of these of the political things here. In 3 ideologies: protest, patriotism, and revolution. And so he is passionate about preservation and development of his Xhosa. And then in 2021, he presented a paper titled "The Intellectualization of African Languages: isiXhosa as a Research Language" at an international conference in East London. Wow. The paper was well received, cited as novel, original, and relevant. And in 2020, he published his first book, a memoir. This book I just showed you now, ekuthiwa kukhulu ukuthembeka kwakhe umnyangi we-XDR. So my brother, welcome to you. Please say hi to our viewers.
Thank you, Bawukajeni. Let me greet your viewers this afternoon in the wonderful name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Amen.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm so privileged to have you here. I went through your book, man. I feel like it's ngaqala ngayo because I'm so excited reading your book. And but before we get there, tell us about you. Briefly, where you were born, where you went to school, up until to where you are now, in brief synopsis.
All right, thank you, Bob. It's quite a privilege for me to be here and be part of this wonderful program that you are having with your viewers. Olukhanyo Wagama Kenyan was born and bred in Adelaide, in Eastern Cape, quite a small town near Fort Beaufort, 55 kilometers away from the University of Fort Hare in Alice. I studied here in Adelaide up until grade 9. I was studying in one of the township schools here, Richard Msutu, Kobongaba Higher Primary, as well as Siphoqamagu High School. Then when I was doing grade 10, standard 8, during our time, I moved to Port Elizabeth in one of the colored schools in Galvindale, Chapman Senior Secondary School. And that's where I did my matric in 1999. After matric, I tried my hand in electronics, but that didn't fly. Then in 2005, I got an opportunity from the Department of Education to go and study education at the University of Fort Hare. And when I finished in 2008, I continued with my honors in isiXhosa, then masters. It was, the book speaks about my time in hospital, and it was during the time I was doing my masters when I was hospitalized. Then I had to stop a bit. Then I came back after that ordeal. And then in 2020, December, on the 17th of December, I graduated my PhD in African languages. And at that time, I was working at Saltpike University in Kimberley. And when my mentor and my supervisor retired, that was an opportunity for me to come back home and work where I studied and plow back to the institution that made me, who I am, the University of Fort Hare College. So last year in June, I started on the 1st of June at the University of Fort Hare, where I am based in the African Languages Department, lecturing isiXhosa, mostly the literature side, from first year up until the honors. And I also have students that I'm supervising who are also writing their dissertations and masters and thesis in PhD in isiXhosa. We are trying to keep it and preserve our language. Yes. So that's where I am at the moment.
Wow, this is amazing, man. This is amazing. The first part, which I'd like to start off with, is, and I'm sure we're going to come back to it. You said when you were doing your master's, you were ill. You were going through the illness, and you packed it aside, and then you came back to it. I think that's something, especially for young people, to understand. That the fact that we are gonna go through troubles, it does not mean that our dreams have got to die. But we're going to come back to that issue just now. But I noticed that you have a love for the language of isiXhosa, and I'm sure this can be applicable to all African languages. Where does that love come from, such that you wrote your thesis? I mean, academic writing is not a child's play, you know. How much more? And because the research that you do is probably, a lot of it is done in English. And where does that passion for the language of isiXhosa come from? And how did you write your thesis, your PhD thesis in this language?
Thank you so much, Baukajeni. As I said, I grew up in township schools, you know, where isiXhosa was your home language. You know, I had teachers like Abome Mantile who were teaching isiXhosa back then. So they instilled that kind of love for the language. But then when I moved to PE to do my grade 10, 11, and 12, I was in a colored school. So that means I was not doing isiXhosa anymore. I had English as my first language, as well as Afrikaans as my second language. Then I came back after matric. I went to study in college to do Umbane. And then I came back and stayed at home a bit. And that's when I got the Adventist message and became a member of the church in 2001. It was then that I think, for me, the love of isiXhosa was brought back. Because remember at that times in the late 90s, we all wanted to speak English, you know, and sing Makala, you know what I'm saying? Yes, we wanted to be like that, all of us. But when I came back in 2001 and listened to Dr. Mdaga, the late Dr. Mdaga, we laid him to rest in February. He was my supervisor. He started with me for the first year up until my PhD, all the way. Yeah. You know, I listened to him doing announcements at church. And he started with the way he was greeting the church, and Indlela, he would address or talk about God in Hadada Yegriha, Umaqaphula ngamthana, woxolo enhla nasezantsi kwedolo, you know, inyathelo matyhobozo yasekhaya ezulwini. And I got excited, you know, when I listened to him, you know, in that hour, and I said, if ever I get an opportunity to study at the university, the first thing that I will register, it will be isiXhosa. And praise to God, when I got that opportunity, he became one of my lecturers. And in our first year, we were doing a novel, you probably know it, Ubulumko Bezinja by Rostam Siyongwana. You know, and when he started, you know, kukuqaqadeka kwengqondo songqondo gqwirha okwabangela ukuba abantu abamnyama babhenele kumzabalazo, yabona, when he started to say those things, you know, and athi uncwadi angiyelela inguqu ubana ngabe injongo yalo kucengacengana nezazela zabaqishileli okokuba baxibile amaxhoba ubana bakhonxe ngawo amaxhoba awo. You know, I said, no, this is where I'm supposed to be, you know, and I never left it. I was in his class, and when I did my master's, I registered for my master's, I handpicked him as my supervisor. And when I went to do my PhD, there was one of the lecturers in the department who wanted me. Then I said, hey, I can't leave him, you know. So he instilled the love, the passion for the language. And when I said I wanted to write it, my PhD in isiXhosa, he was so excited and he was for it. And we dived into it. And the rest, as they say, is history.
It's history. Wow, wow, wow. I mean, to the way that you speak the language itself, I mean, it's amazing. The way that you wrote in the book, man, it's just out of this world. And now I know why and where this thing is coming from. Umdaga was really a great man, a great orator of the language. And you couldn't but be influenced when you are in his presence, when he does talk. Dr. Otin Ngcebisa.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
That's true.
All right. So, when you write in your mother tongue as you did, what is the impact of that in terms of international international recognition or understanding of the contribution of your own writing? So is that translated? How does that work? Because a person might say, man, if I write in language in isiXhosa, it will only be read by the people that can know the language. And so how does that work?
Thank you. So that's a very important question that you just posed. During the week, I'll be presenting a paper in a conference entitled "Towards Writing Research Reports in African Languages: Academics' Perceptions." I interviewed some of the academics just to look into that, because we are trying to push this across the curriculum, because mostly you'd find that the people who write their dissertations and theses are only the people who are studying languages, but what about the sciences and the stuff like that? You know, and I was encouraged even more to do that research, to interview those academics, when I discovered that in 2008, there is a doctor who studied in the University of Wisconsin in America, who wrote his PhD in plant sciences in his native language, Gikuyu, a language from Kenya.
Yes.
And he wrote the entire PhD in Gikuyu, and that PhD is not in languages, but it's in plant sciences. And when I saw that, I said, no, man, even in South Africa, this can be done. And yes, one of the people that I was interviewing mentioned the issue of readership. When you write in your African language, who will read your work? Will it be recognized internationally? What the guy did in America, he wrote it in Kikuyu and translated it in English so that it can reach more people. And one of the things that I picked up from the academics is that, yes, we can write our PhDs, the dissertations in African languages. And then when we write papers, when we present in conferences, let us do that in English so that it can reach a wider audience. Because one of the problems is that the researchers come to you and me. We are both Xhosas. They interview us. They get information. They collect data in isiXhosa. But when they go and write the report, they write the report in English. And as Xhosa, I don't have access to that report because it's written in a foreign language. I mean, when they go to those villages and speak to our grandmothers who don't know a word in English, when you write the report, it means they cannot access the data that they provided you with.
Yes.
So when we write these dissertations in isiXhosa, in our African languages, we are opening a way for our people to be able to access this information that will later help them in their communities for betterment of their lives. Yes, it might affect a little bit of readership, but if you're going to go to a conference, you will present those same findings in English. If you're going to write a paper for a journal, you will present those findings in English for a wider audience. And what universities do also is that if you write in isiXhosa, you also write your abstract in English. The paper that you spoke about on the that I presented in 2001, the intellectualization of African languages, isiXhosa as a research language. When I wrote it, when I presented it in isiXhosa. When I wrote it to, when I sent it to a journal, which was approved with minor corrections, it might be published next year. I wrote it in isiXhosa. And one of the requirements of that journal is that you must write an abstract in English and also write a summary in isiXhosa, so that whoever gets to read the journal gets the summary, which tells about the findings, which talks about the methodologies that I've used, the theories that I've used on the paper. So even if the person doesn't get to read the entire paper, but with the abstract that is in English, with the summary that is in English, they can be able to get the gist of the paper and also cite the paper in their work. So not all is lost. We still get to reach out to people who do not understand our African languages.
Wow. I mean, we're learning a lot, because I think this is also about the decolonization that, in the whole of Africa, the scholarship material is in foreign languages. I mean, you think about French-speaking Africa, Anglo-speaking Africa, or English-speaking Africa, even Portuguese. And these academics write in those languages such that where there's no indigenous knowledge systems information that we are. So I think this is a very great start. And I think Forte and many other universities like that needs to be applauded for that. It really is something to behold, and it really encouraged me also to go and want and read your piece. I don't know if it's available online or what, so that one can just expand my knowledge of this stuff.
Yes, it is available. It is available online, but I can also email it to you as well.
Okay, that would be great. That would be great, Bungane. I would really appreciate it. I saw that Dr. Prof. Willie Tafatwa Chinya Murendi. Sorry, I forgot. I sometimes get tongue-tied. But Yamazu, Professor Willie, he says, I'm honored to be working at the same institution as this scholar. He also does some amazing translation work of surveys and instruments from English to isiXhosa. Well done, man.
And if a man as august as him can say that, one needs to be humbled, because that's a man of experience. We don't just call him professor because it's just the way he has done so much work, and he's one of my self-appointed mentors. Whenever I need something that relates to research, I always knock at his office.
He's a great academic. I've been watching his progress, and now I'd like us to just change tack a little bit, just to talk now about the topic of our conversation today, which is encapsulated in your book, Surviving XDR Tuberculosis, TB. All right. Kukhulu kuthembeka kwakhe umnyango we-XDR. And many of us do not know what XDR is. So can you just give us the basics? And I say in your book that you differentiate between MDR and XDR. So can you just take us through what does that mean?
All right. Thank you, Abba. I can safely say I had all the 3 bouts of TB in my life. It was in 2009.
Yeah.
I attended SDASA in PE, and the NDA function there.
Yeah.
And at that time, there were these guys from South Korea who were marketing the school there, and I had just finished my degree in education, and I was doing my honors that year. So I was interested to go and work abroad and start teaching that side. So I spoke with that guy, and we exchanged everything, and I went through and started with the application. When I came back in January, there was this pain.
January 2010.
2010, yes. There was this pain on my chest that I didn't know where it came from. And quickly I went to see a doctor. And the doctor who attended me said, nah, man, it's just arthritis or something. Then, well, it's fine. He gave me something. I drank that, and then the pain subsided a bit. And maybe he was right. And then I started going through the application for working in South Korea. And they did the interview over the phone. They were happy with how I speak English, the Queen's language, and they were ready to hire me. Everything was done. So I had 2 tests that I needed to do. One, it was for a chest X-ray, and the second one, it was for HIV and AIDS. So I went to the doctor to give him the form that he had to fill, and then he sent me for X-rays. I'm curious, you know. Then I took out the X-ray and I looked at it. I remember everything that I was taught at school, you know, when there is such a something that is round on your lungs on the X-ray, then there's something about it. But I didn't want to get excited. I went back to the doctor. This was around May. And then the doctor said, when he took out the sheet for the X-ray, his complexion changed. He was pink now. He was a white man. And then he said to me, please go to the clinic. Ask them to give you sputum bottles so that you can cough and then bring them back to the clinic so that we can test TB. We just want to make sure. And I was like, no, man, it can't be. Then I just went there. My mind was already in Korea. I could already hear the hum of the diesel, you know, and the plane taking off from the runway. And then I did the...
Man, just on that...
I sent back the speech.
Just before you move forward, man, I just want to... it's amazing how you describe that that vision in the book. You know, in fact, at some point, I thought that you really had taken off. The way that that you wrote that in the language, you know, breaking through the clouds with the airplane wings, you know, it's just amazing, man. You wrote it so well. But sorry, I disturbed you. You can carry on.
Thank you so much. So the results came back. And the lady at the clinic said, hey, the results came back. There are 2 positives. You have TB, you know. Then I said, well, okay, it's fine. I know TB can be cured 6 months and then you are done. I called the guys and told them about it. And then they said, okay, we'll keep your stuff, continue with the treatment. And then after you are done, you call us back again. Then I said, fine. I dived into the treatment. You know, I was taking 4 pills a day, quite huge. And in that 1 pill, there was Rifampicin, there was Iron Age, there was ethambutol, and I just forgot the 4th one. You know. I took them 6 months down the line. I went to do the test again, and the results came back, and it said I was fine. I say, well, praise be to God. And then if you... I said something, and I think I wrote it on Facebook. I hope I'll quickly find it. Just after I finished after I finished the 6 months course, and I wrote, this was on the 12th of October 2010. 6 months ago, I sat on my study desk with watery eyes and wet cheeks and said, it has been a good life. 6 months later, all I can say is, what a ride with God through the valley. With 1 week to go, all I can say, even if I don't get out of this valley, as long as he is down here with me. Thank you all for your prayers and words of support and loving me still. You are blessed by God and stay blessed. There is this line, even if I don't get out of this valley, as long as he is down here with me. With those words, I didn't know that I was challenging the devil. You know, this was October. On the 19th of October, I was cleared a week later. Then 4 months later, January, I was burning hot. It was on a Sunday. You know, I could sense smoke oozing out of my pores. And I said, no, man, something is wrong here. You know, I didn't even need someone to say, go and test for TB. I just went myself to go and do the test because I could tell
straight to the hospital.
You know, the results came back. Yes. And the results came back, and then they told me, hey, TB is back. We're going to go through the same treatment, but this time we will add the injection. I said, what? You know us, man, black man with the injection. Yeah, it's a no-go. And then I went through that. This was 2011 now. So I started in January with the treatment, February. Normally, after 2 weeks, there is a change. But for me, there was no change. 2 weeks went by, a month went by, 2 months, 3 months went by, and there was no change. And we started to be alert with the nurses that I was working with in PE. And then one of them said, hey, I think let's do culture where we get to see exactly what is going on. Maybe there is something more to it. I was working at Ubuntu Education Fund in PE, and I spoke with my boss. They said, no, you can go home and just relax a bit and see what the results bring. And then in August, the results came back. No, in July, late July, if not August, the results came back, and they said you have MDR, multiple drug resistant. So that means now on those 4 drugs that I was using, there was 2 that I was resistant in. In other words, even though I am taking the drug, it's doing nothing on me. So that's why the results were not improving. Okay, fine. They changed the treatment, and now from the 4 that I was taking, I was now taking 15 with the injection. So 15 at once. Okay, fine. I thought I was improving. Things were going well. But late August, I got another call from the hospital saying, man, it's bigger than we thought. You've got XDR. On the book, I say it's extremely drug resistant, because that's how we felt as the patients at the hospital. But it's actually extensively drug resistant.
Extensively.
So they said you have XDR. Yes, extensively drug resistant. And that means all the first-line drugs that are used, your normal drugs that are used to cure TB, the strongest of them all, they are doing absolutely nothing on you. You're just taking them, they are not helping you. So the strain that you have resists all the drugs. So I had to be hospitalized because I was a danger to my family and people around. I went to Joseph Pearson in Port Elizabeth, and oh boy, was I not ready for what was going to happen there. On the first day, I think the daily, let me just put it that way, daily, I was taking about 28 pills. Okay, maybe 28. When I'm saying daily, it's an understatement.
28.
No, when I say daily, 28. 28. But when I say daily, it's an understatement, because to someone it might say I'm taking 4 in the morning, maybe 6 in the. I was taking 28 pills at once. First thing in the morning, I had to take those 28 pills and the injection every day. And when they say knowledge is power, I talk about it in the book. When they say knowledge is power, they mean it, because I decided to read more. Why this many? It's not possible. Why do we have to take this many? And I got to realize that when I was resistant to INH, I was resistant to ethambutol, I was resistant to this and this other drug. But when you take them, when you increase the dosage, at least they start to work in your system. But it's slow, very slow. So that's why I was taking 6 ethambutol, 6 INH, and 6 others. And all in all, they would make about 28 pills. And I had to take them at once with the injection every day. My first days, I was vomiting left, right, and center. Excuse me for those who are sensitive. I was vomiting almost every day. My stomach could not handle what was happening. And I saw other patients who were there for quite some time. Maybe it's goba, they would grind the pills, so it's gobo. And then you put it on whatever cup, and then you just drink that. Hey, I tried it once, and then I said never again. You know, that day I was so high that I probably slept from the morning up. I didn't even have lunch that day.
Maybe that's why there's Cuba, just because they want that high.
I was so high. You know, I was in bed the whole day, you know, because I couldn't do anything. My legs, it was as if they are locked with chains. My head, it was as if it's tied on the bed with a heavy chain. I couldn't move. I couldn't do anything. You know, the first few weeks were terrible. I don't want to lie. The first few weeks were terrible. And what made it even worse, you know, there is a chapter in the book, it's chapter 7. It says, "Isine sonke," you know, first night when I stepped in hospital, allocated a room. You know, when you are new in the area, you don't want to, you know, you just sit there, and here and there, one comes in and greet and stuff like that. And that night I had commotion. People were moving around. I had footsteps and all that, but I couldn't get out because I don't know anyone. There was no one that I could even ask what's going on. Then I lied down in bed, you know, and the following day, I got to learn that 4 people died that night. I don't care how strong you are, but that quickly sends a message to you that this is the road that you are taking. One of these days, you know, you're gonna, because in and around there was high care. There were people who were moving around, the ambulatory patients who could move around, could do things for themselves, but there were those who were bedridden, you know. So I said to myself, okay, at first I'm gonna be like these ones who are able to move around. Then the next step would be high care. And after high care, I'm going straight to the grave. This was clear. First night, this was the message that I was getting. And I went there knowing that with XDR TB, there's only 20% survival. The rate
20%.
20%. 80% they vamos. Then I knew.
Sure.
I knew where I was going. And hence there is a poem that I wrote on the, I was hospitalized on the 1st of September. If you go to page 46, this is the poem that I wrote on the 30th of August. Yes, on the 30th of August, you know. There is a part there, the second stanza. I now take a journey. Many came not back. I may walk not again the road I take, and never come back again. Even so, God is in control. So I knew, even before.
Just if you can just take a pause there, man. Sorry about that. You know, because when I read this piece, when I read this poem and this Facebook post, I read it now. I didn't read it at the time, but when I read it, man, I thought, wow. I mean, you had this awareness about the fact that this might be it. Because on the first day that you were there, first night, 4 people died. You could hear you know, people trying to fight against what they knew was coming. Man, this was serious stuff.
Yeah, this was big.
And then also, you also say in the book that not only was the possibility of death high, but also in the treatment itself, there were issues with hearing and even hallucinations. Can you just talk to us about that?
Yes, yes, yes. I even when I wrote about that in the book, I said, okay, then it's gonna be okay. I'm gonna be able to move around. Then before high care, I'm gonna lose my hearing, and then I'm gonna lose my mind, and then I'm gonna be in high care, and then death. I noticed, after a few days there that there few, when they talk, the volume is high, and when people were talking to them, they would try to be near them and shout whenever they talk to them. And I got to realize that they were deaf. And their deafness was not because they were born deaf, but through the use of one of the drugs we were using, especially the injection. And I read about it. I went to Google, I looked it up, and Google confirmed it. It's called, the drug is capreomycin. We were taking it through the injection. That if it's, you have to use it for, I think, about 200 doses. Beyond that, it may so happen that it may numb your hearing nerves and you will be deaf, and you can't reverse deafness, unlike other things. If amehlo anengxaki ayakwazi uyokongula, but deafness you cannot reverse it. If you are deaf, you are deaf, period. So that's why at the hospital, they would, now and again, they would run some hearing tests. They will take you to a studio and then they put on something and then there will be a two sound. Can you hear anything? Yes. Can you hear anything? The moment they tell, hey, yeah, your hearing is getting lost, they will stop you on the drug before it gets to that point of you being fully deaf. So there was that possibility. And I would beg God, I know in your word it says you have unstopped the deaf ears, and I pray that you make sure that I don't get to that point. I remember this other night we were dishing around 5, but we would hang around and then eat a little bit later. So we were coming to the microwave to warm the food. And when we came back to pass by one of the female wards, we were family, in that hospital. So when we were passing by in the female wards, there was this young lady, we called her last born, and it was terrible. She was saying things that we are not saying. She was saying things that were not making sense. And it was so terrible. I remember we were praying. We asked the nurses to do this, and they couldn't do anything because it's only the doctor who can prescribe whatever we must be given. We tried everything, and it's and I was reading something similar in your book, and we prayed. We asked God. I remember kneeling on top of her, praying and pleading with God to come through for the young lady, because there was nothing that they were giving her to calm her down. No. And this other night there was a guy who was my neighbor, not far from where I was sleeping. Because also we were sleeping. After some time, they took you to the bungalows where you can have your own room and stuff like that. And that's why you even find condoms in hospitals. There is a chapter that speaks about condoms in hospitals.
You made me laugh when you were talking with that guy. I think he's a colored guy, and he told you that you can bring your cherry or your girlfriend without anyone giving you.
People were creating families there. Because we were there too long, 6 months, others 2 years, and then you get, might as well.
All right. Here we are thinking that people are in hospital, but they are busy having a good time there.
I was so surprised when I saw the condoms as well. I said, okay, what are these doing here? And I later found out. But there was this guy who was sitting not far from us. And it's the guy who gave me a good advice. When I first came in, and he told me, you better start with the injection and then come to the pills, because once you take the pills, there's nothing that you want to do anymore. And on this day, he was out in the hospital yard. He was seeing people who are chasing him down. He trying to take out a knife to stab them, something like that. And we tried again. There was this other old man. We loved him. He was one of silver tongue orators. Whenever he spoke, you would listen. And me being a language person, I had an ear for him, So he came in, he spoke with the guy, and we tried to calm the guy down, gave him his pens to put them back on, and I went back to my room. I said, this might be me as well. I might be going through this route as well. I might come to a point where I don't only lose my ability to hear, but I'll also lose my mind. And I could not blame them. And I think one of the reasons it get to that, it could be the treatment, but also the fact that you were taking 28 pills, you were taking injection every morning, but whenever you test every month, the results will come back positive. Whenever you go and test every month, the results will come back positive. And then you get to a point where you ask yourself, why am I still drinking these? Because they're not healthy.
Yeah.
I take them faithfully. I am there each and every morning, but there is nothing that is happening. So I don't care how strong you are, but that gets to your head. And I believe some of the guys who went that route, who went that far, it was either because of that or because of the drugs that we were taking. Because and I think in the side effects, there are such things that you can even hallucinate, you can start seeing things that are not being seen by others, and also the strain, the stress that we were having, and I thank God for prayer. And I thank God I had my Bibles, I had my books there. I was watching C.D. Brooks sermons. People were praying for me back home. My church, Daku Church, Adventist Women Ministries, when they had their programs, I would be a prayer item. They even though I didn't know, I only heard about these things afterwards. There were young people who were meeting in East London. I was a prayer item there. And I thank God for that. And we also had prayers each and every day at 5 o'clock. There were other 2 women who started this thing, and I joined them. And we had these prayers. And if you remember, there is a story about the eagle that was told by one old man in one of those prayers. And had it not been for the Lord on my side, hence I say, had it not been for him on my side, I don't think I would have made it. Either I would have stopped taking the pills because I said, this is too much. Now I'm back to my old complexion that I had before hospital. There was a point. It's just that the pictures, my printer, the people were printing this time, they printed the pictures in black and white. There was a time when I was in hospital, and after I left hospital, that my skin, my complexion had turned black, dark brown, and red at the same time. You see, this is my old self. This is who I am, like the kind of complexion that you see. But there was a point in time that I was a shadow of who I was. My arms were like, there were dark skins, upper on my arms. I could not wear shorts for quite some time after I went out of hospital because my legs had turned dark brown, black, and red at the same time. I'm an African. We love to hug, we love to embrace people and show the kind of love that we have for them. But with the medication that I was taking, there was a smell that was oozing out of my pores. I was smelling some kind of, and I had to distance myself from people. I couldn't hug anymore, just breathe, and just pretend to
at a distance.
Yes, because I didn't want them to feel and to smell that odor that was coming out of me. I couldn't, when it's cold, I love to cover my head, when I'm sleeping, but I couldn't do that because there was this strong smell that was coming out of whenever I sweat, it would come out of my body. and it would be too much for me. So I had to distance myself from people for quite some time, even after I went out of hospital. When I came back in 2012, I was released, discharged on the 17th of April in 2012. And I had to continue with the treatment for about 18 months. So the whole of 2012, I was still taking the treatment, and the whole of 2013, up until December 2013, I was still taking the treatment. So I was still dark. I still had that kind of smell oozing out of my body, So with those things, it surely gets into your head. And if you do not have a support system, I had friends from church coming in. I had my family coming in. I had, friends from all over the place. Some were calling, some were sending airtime. There was that time, there was BIS, that time of BlackBerry, Obonisa Ngconca, Baxolile Daka, she's married to the Tonys now. They would be sending BIS so that I could continue, watching those CD Brooks sermons online. I could continue to feed my spirit. That's why you would find there are quotes there that says there must be a place in your room that knows the shape of your knees. You need to kneel down. Wow. You need to talk to God about yourself, about your situation. You are a music person. I can't sing. Hymn 53. Hymn 53. I would cite it in my prayers whenever I go out to pray. There is that line. Ungasishiyi apha.
Kakul.
Yay, not just, but so kakhulu, I would decide to go to pray, because that was not just a song for me. That was a prayer. Excuse me. That was a prayer.
Okay.
Me,
Okay.
Yes.
We'll continue with the discussion, man. But I came to Fort Beaufort, Buffalo recently to talk about this book and other things, and that's when we chatted a little bit, and you got a copy of my book as well. And by the way, for those people who want this copy, A Gap in the Cloud, feel free to reach out. We have copies. We ship them anywhere in the country or anywhere in the world for that matter. But when we were there and we were sort of exchanging, I was giving you the book, and then you gave me this one, and you told me briefly about this, and I realized about your story. I realized that almost we have this commonality around 2020, around 2011. This is when I was diagnosed with the cancer as well, and 2012 was a difficult year of operation. So since then, I've had this affinity between the two of us, man, because it seems as if we went through something similar at the same time. So that is why I'm really interested in reading your book. Now, before we get a bit further, I just want us to, because we don't want people to think that you are scaring them, you're making them scared about the treatment. But we want people, firstly, to understand about XDR. When I was looking at it, I realized that it's actually prevalent in Africa and some parts of Eastern Europe and in Russia. So how do people get XDR? Is it an infectious or contagious thing? Do we get it when we go to hospitals? But also, if you can just tell me, because in your book you talk about at your earliest stages, you had some illnesses around your chest, even when you were still 8 or even before that. Was there a link between that and the XDR? Just give us a brief.
There should be. There should be.
Yeah.
I grew up with asthma. This is I carry it around.
Okay.
An inhaler.
And now, yes.
Yes. I grew up with asthma. I talk about the first part on the book. Takes that goes back to when I started to notice that I have asthma. I couldn't play sports as much as I wanted to. I had to be careful because once I get the attack, things that are not good started to happen.
Yeah.
And there is a little bit of history in the family. I remember Utangi had TB and he slept at Isanda in Fort Beaufort. And my sister, who were sharing a room, had TB when I was still young. Okay, how did it get to the XDR? I may not know exactly, but this is what I want to say. And I think I mentioned it in the book. TB is an airborne infection or bacteria. Let me put it that way. I'm not well versed in that. It's contagious. You know, as I'm speaking now, there are droplets that are flying out of my mouth. Someone can inhale them and they get into their lungs. If I still have TB, then it gets to them. And when I said I was reading a lot when I was in hospital, you know, one of the things that I picked up is that it's possible that all of us might have TB. Since it's an airborne a disease, all you need to do to get TB is to breathe. So if you are breathing, chances are high that you will get TB. So how does it get to? Because there is latent TB. I think I call it undilele. Where you don't, you don't get any symptoms, you don't get sick or anything, but it's in your lungs. But because your immunity is strong, you know, because you are eating well, because you are doing all the right things, then it doesn't show up, you know. So if you are someone like me who has been compromised, you know, I always thought that asthma started when I was 6 years old because I read the clinic card and I said, okay, I started coming here around 1988 when I was 6. But my mother, when I asked her to write the preface, my mother said I was 3 months old when this started. So asthma alone compromises your immune system. And if you take this is an immunosuppressant. It suppresses your immune system. So once it's helping, it also, you know, works the other way around. And I think there was a point in my life, quite a very short period of time, where I was not careful with what I was eating and dressing up and all that stuff. And I think that is where it got an opportunity to wake up. Remember, Sitemo Singundilele. And it started and overpower my immune system, you know, and started to show up. Hence, I had those chest pains when I went to the doctor in January 2010. You know, was one of the symptoms of TB is your chest pains. You know, so, and I even advise people in the book, always look after your immune system. Always make sure that you are well and good, because you don't know when it will decide to wake up. But if you are eating well, if you are doing all the exercise, the new start, I think you spoke about the new start in your book as well. If you do those new start, nutrition, water, fresh air, sunshine and stuff like that, you will be fine. Even if you have inhaled droplets of tea that have TB, even the XDR one, because if Osulelwa ngumuntu who already has an XDR, you won't get the first line of TB, you'll get the XDR one. So what we need to do, you know, there is a saying, it's rife on Facebook and stuff like that, where they say, if you eat your food as medicine now, you won't have to eat your medicine as food. So when I was taking 28 pills, I was eating my medicine as food. I don't know if you're still there. Mm. I'm not sure.
Hello? Do you have
Are you
back?
Yes, yes, beautiful, beautiful.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I really don't know what happened.
Yes, it kicked you out a bit there. So I
Okay.
was saying, I was saying there is this saying out there that says if you eat your food as medicine, you will not
Mm,
have to eat your medicine as food.
mm,
So when I was taking
mm,
those 28 pills, I was eating my medicine as food.
mm,
So
mm,
once we don't look after what we eat, we
mm,
don't make sure that we have a balanced diet. You have your protein, you have your vitamins, you have your ions and stuff like that. We are
mm,
compromising our bodies. We are compromising ourselves. You know,
mm,
and there are herbs out there that God has given us in our area,
mm,
just outside in my yard. There is a plantain. I speak about it a lot in the book. It's one of the herbs
yeah.
that helped me, that I was taking.
Mm,
We normally siyayitshenda laa nto sithi lukhula,
eh,
kanti ayilokhula, ngamayeza uThixo asinike wona to cure
mm,
whatever ailments in our areas. That's what I've discovered. And I don't know if you got as far as reading about the dream I used to have as a
not,
young boy.
no, not yet. No.
There is a dream I used to have as a young boy,
Yeah.
whenever this thing of having bathrooms in the house, it's new to
Yeah.
us. We used to go ecangcini, you know.
Wait.
So whenever I would go in the mornings to pee, there was this
Yeah.
plant I would pass by, and I hated that plant so much. I
Mm,
hated it with passion
mm,
because I would dream of it at night, and I would dream eating it, and it would
mm,
leave this bitter taste on my throat. And
mm.
whenever I passed it, I would kick it. I would do terrible things on it, because I hated it, and I did not know why I was dreaming about
Yeah.
and I think I speak about it in chapter 13
Yes.
of the book. In chapter 13, where I ask
Mm,
akukho nengcambu na,
mm,
and
mm.
I would dream of it each and every day.
Wow.
And I write about it. I want to read from the book. Maybe if
You
we get
say
time.
chapter 13. Chapter
Yes,
13.
yes, in page 103. When I asked the elders at the hospital, are you trying to tell me that there is not even one root that God has planted here that we can use to cure what we have?
Mm,
And one old
mm,
man stood up, went to his room, and brought back a book that had plants, herbs and
mm,
stuff like that. And he showed me
mm,
one, you know.
mm.
He showed me one. And the one that he showed me, a herb, a plant, was the very
Yeah.
same plant in my backyard
Mm,
I used to dream of, that I
mm.
hated so much, you know. And when
What
I
was the
read,
name of that? What was the
it's
name of that?
it's a spear thistle or bull
Mm,
thistle or common thistle.
mm.
The scientific name of it is Cirsium vulgare, right on the second
Oh,
paragraph,
yes. I can
page one.
see that. I can see.
Yes, yes, yes. And I think I have the picture of it, but it's just that it's not clear now in the book
Mm,
since it's black and white.
mm.
And when I read what they wrote about the herb, and it is said that it is used to make one of the TB drugs, and those TB
Mm,
drugs is the ethambutol.
mm.
And out of all the drugs that I was resistant to, I was susceptible to ethambutol, meaning that ethambutol was working on me. And I said to
Yes.
myself, wow.
Wow.
Long before I could hear the footsteps of TB, God had already given me a message that this is the plan that will cure you. This is what you will be taking to cure the
Wow.
ailment that you will have later in
Wow.
life.
Wow.
I could not believe what I was reading in that book. And I said, you know, God keeps sending messages to us. And hence I say, kukhulu ukuthembeka kwakhe. He keeps sending messages to us. And many a times you don't listen, you don't get those messages. Instead of asking, instead of kicking that plant, instead of hating it so much, I could have just stopped and prayed, God, what do these dreams mean? What are you trying to tell me with this plant? Only to find out that that very plant will be the one that is used in one of the drugs to heal what I had.
Wow, 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 wow. And the nice thing is that you lived long enough to realize that, to learn about that, you know?
Yeah.
Sure. This is amazing, man. Tell me, at this time, were you married? Did you have children at this time?
No, not yet, not yet. I was not married at that time.
Okay.
And yes, when I came out of hospital in 2012, then 2013, I impregnated someone, Mama Oremi, and Oremi was born in March 2014. But fortunately, 3 weeks later, you know, on the 8th of April, you know, he gave up. I left him on a Sunday. He went back to PE. Everything was fine. Then on Monday, I was called to be told that, hey, the boy is no more. Yeah.
Oh, man, sorry to hear that.
Yeah, but you know, with God, you know, he died on April, you know, and in 2020, I had a daughter in April. So I think I say in the book, where the other one laid down the mantle, the other one took it up. So yeah, I think it's the very last chapter. Yeah, the very last chapter of the yes.
Maybe sorry, man, I hadn't gotten there yet.
Yes. Maybe there is this other thing that since I just mentioned what's happening in the last chapter, there is this other thing that I speak about the conversation I had with this young lady, you know, and I was trying my luck, and you know, and the lady said, where is this? Yeah, we had a very long conversation. You know, she knew about the issue with TB that I had, you know, and she said to me, I can look page 126. Kuthiwa wena uyagula. Like, oh, kuthiwa ndiyagula okanye bendigula dadethu. Athi kuthiwa uyagula qha wabuzifihla nge-TB. Uthi nango kapha kum. Kuthiwa yona nto uyona ndandinayo okanye ndinayo yintoni xa kucaca ukuba i-TB yayilisebe lenkawu. Kuthi unale nto phandle apha. Ukuze ude uyokulala esibhedlele wawulaliswa yiyo nokuba wawunayo i-TB yona yayibangwa kuba unale nto iphandle apha. Ungatsho nje ukuba bendiziqhatha lonke eli xesha. And kuthiwa nale yenzeke emntwaneni wakho yayibangwa yiloo nto. Ndiyafuna udlula ke kule ndawo because there is this perception ebantwini ethi once you have TB, especially this form of TB, it's because you are HIV positive, you know. And we get to a point of stigmatizing people unnecessarily and shut them out in life for certain reason, you know. And yes, research has proven that most people who end up getting XDR is because their immunity is compromised, that for sure. And one would think that one of the things that compromises our immunity is HIV and AIDS. you know. So hence people would think or would conclude that if you have TB, XDR, it means that you have HIV and AIDS. So in hospital, they would run some tests each and every 2 months, 3 months, you know, just to check your HIV, your EAs, your everything, you know, and stuff like that. I wrote about the conversation in the book for that reason. And I even say somewhere here, the fact that you might have both TB. All right, yeah, I say here in page 129. Akudingeki ube nesifo sikagawulayo ukuze uhlaselwe sisifo sephepha esingunkani kunyangeka. Kananjalo, ukuba nesifo sikagawulayo akuthi uza kuba nesifo sephepha esingunkani kunyangeka. Ngaphaya koko, ukuba nesifo sikagawulayo akuthi awusoze uphile kwisifo sephepha esingunkani kunyangeka. Kuba uThixo unako kwaye kukhulu ukuthembeka kwakhe. So I had to address that because of obvious reasons, and because the book was also educational, you know, about TB and certain stuff, you know, so that we don't need to go that route. All we need to do when people get into these situations is the support they need from us, not stigmatization, even if they have HIV and AIDS, even if they are in that kind of situation. What they need from us is support more than anything. I knew my status, and I even I mentioned the fact that we even went to test, both of us, just to make sure we are at ease. You know, we went and we both saw each other the results, and the case was closed on that issue. So I wanted to drive that home. You know, we don't need to put that pressure on people. Even if people do have HIV and AIDS, they can get through.
Let's just talk a little bit about that. Let's say, for example, a person is interested in establishing a relationship with you, but they have this fear. What is the best way? Let's say even including a marital relationship, what is the best way for them to be? Is it to ask you both of you to do HIV test? What is the best way for such a person now? They don't want to put stigma, but they are concerned about whether or not indeed HIV is there or not. What should they do? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
That's very important. That's a very important question. Yes, I can hear you.
Sure.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Yes. Those conversations are very important. When we start a relationship, we need to start on a clean slate. You know, even if andicingeli ukubana ngaba unayo or not, you know, those are some of the things that we should be discussing in our relationships, and get to a point where we go together and do the tests, you know, and be on the same level. You know, if I have it, the person that I'm in a relationship with needs to know, so that they can decide to continue with the relationship or to say, hey, I don't think I'll be able to continue with this relationship. You need to give them that opportunity to decide. Because once I lure you into a relationship, and yet I'm keeping this huge thing that will affect us, because we all know there are issues of having children, what's going to happen, you know. So we both need to know where we stand. And having such conversations, hence we get to a point of deciding, both of us, to go and have those tests and bring back there. She was in another area, I was in another. So this one did the test, I did the test this side, and then we came back and showed each other. That was important. That was key. Instead of one, I'm in a relationship with you and I don't trust you. I see you coughing. I see you losing weight. I see all sorts of things happening. I see when I come visit you, there are bottles of pills that I'm not sure what are they for.
What's happening?
And you're taking them at a certain period of time, and then I'm in this relationship, but I don't trust the person I'm in a relationship with, and you need that level of trust between the two of you. And I need to decide if I want to continue with you with or without HIV or AIDS or any other ailment, even if I never hide that I carry this around, even if it's not HIV and AIDS. Someone that I believe, my wife knows when I lose it and I feel my chest. And my kid loves to play around. You see, there is not even a lid. My kid plays around with it. She needs to know from the word go that lo mntu uthandana naye ngusifutyana, and you should know what to do.
What to do? Yes.
But so even if it's not HIV and AIDS, we need to be open about our clinic folders, our doctors' folders, so that I know what I'm getting myself into. She knows. My wife, we're not dating at the time, but she knows that I had TB. She knows I had history with TB, and it was severe. I went as far as the hospital. So let us be open about such things so that we get the help that we and the support that can allow people to decide that they want to be in a relationship with someone.
Yes, and I'm sure also it gives a sense of internal peace to know that you are not hiding anything from your spouse. Now I want us to just talk about, as we come to the conclusion, to talk about why did you write the book? What was the overriding idea that you wrote the book? And also, why did you write it in isiXhosa rather than English? Bungani Andiva.
All right. Once I was still in hospital, I love writing, and I always say I express myself better in writing than in speaking. So, once I was still in hospital, can you hear me on your side? Yes, I can hear you.
Yes. There's just a delay.
Okay.
Yes, Diaguva Pungani Kuba.
Let me continue. Right. Once I was still in hospital, I started writing the book. And I was writing in English then with a different title. I think it was called The Prisoner or Prisoners. I remember I mentioned in the book, I was so surprised to get into a hospital where there were 4 fences and even an electric fence. I said, hey, is this a hospital or prison? So, so when I first wrote it, I realized that I was writing it from the position of anger or disappointment or something like that. And instead of helping the nation, because I believe books are for the healing of the nation, instead of helping the nation, I am going to hurt the nation. So I stopped halfway. And I've even forgotten about it. But in 2020, beginning of 2020, I felt the edge. I felt the need to go on and write and finish the book. And I came now, I was from the point of being healed. I was coming from a better position. I was thinking better. I was no longer angry. I was ready to praise God for what he had done, because that was 2020. I was hospitalized in 2011. This was 9 years later, and I was still alive and kicking. I had lost my job then, but now I'm in a better paying job than I was back then. So I said to myself, maybe this is the best time to praise God for what he has done in my life. Why in isiXhosa? Oh, before I get to that point, I said to myself, I need to tell my story so that whoever gets to the same position that I was in can have something to refer to, can have something to say. If Uma Kenyan survived XDR, then I can survive it. That's why whenever I'm in PE, I pass by Joseph Pearson. The last time I was there, I asked for the permission from the nurses just to get in and speak to some of the patients. You know, they gathered around and I spoke with them. I said, I was here, I was sleeping here, I was sleeping there. You know, I went through this. And if I am here today, if I don't look like what I was back then you will beat it too. You know, you will survive, you know, as well. And that was the reason why I wrote the book. I wanted to tell my story of hope. I wanted to give people the hope that even if you get into the deepest miry clay, into the dark alley of life, you will get through to the other side because God is faithful. It was not because of me, it was not because I was smart or anything, or I used this and that, because God is faithful. So I want people to get that. The reason why I opted for it to be in isiXhosa, I could have, if I had written in English, I was going to reach a wider audience. But most of the people who are affected by TB are our people. Because in hospital, most of the people that were there were amaXhosa. Yes, we had some few colors, but they were just a handful. Most So if you look at it, it affects at best our people because we don't have much to cater for our needs and make sure that our immune system is fine. We can't afford supplements and all that stuff. So I wanted to give them hope, even if you don't have enough money. But if you have enough faith in God, you can pull through. He can open your eyes to things that can help you, like he did with me with the plantain, with other herbs. I spoke with abantu abafana noNdanga Nxumalo, Uzwide, you know, and he sent something about the herbs that I can use to help my lungs, you know, and all these things are available. Some of them are free. I'm just told you that plantain is growing just right here in my yard, and it's all over the place. Just that we don't know. Just that we don't know it. You know, I wrote it in isiXhosa because I wanted our people to get it firsthand. I wanted our people to know about these drugs, because I wrote about all of them that I was using and what is the function in the body, so that when you take that 28, you know why. Because I think one of the things that was yes, there was health education at the hospital, but it was done only when you were coming in. But when we're dealing with I even made a recommendation that health education needs to be done maybe once every month. Because if you do it first, when I'm coming in, and 3 weeks down the line, vomiting left, right, and center because of those pills, and now I'm struggling with them, I need to be reminded why I'm taking them. So hence I write about those one that this is what it's doing in your body. You know, and if you take the root herbs and uzidibanise, le herb ethile izakuncedisa kulento. So I needed my people who are coming from where I'm coming from, who have been facing the same struggles, to know how they can get out. If one of them, they grew up with him, they went to school with him, and so forth. If one of them survived it, then they can survive it too.
Wow. And that's a powerful point, because anyone can get any kind of disease, especially this one, especially because it's airborne. You know, you can walk into a place and catch it, but it does not mean that there is no hope. So if there's anything for me, apart from just the beauty of the language that you wrote the book, the indlela ehlekisa ngayo, but I think if there's anything in this book, it's just raising awareness about how to go through trouble and issues. Now, are there ways in which books like this can be distributed in schools? Have you thought about that?
Hey, that's a very good one. Maybe that's
$1 million
something that I
one.
need to, yes, that's something I need to look into. You know, the Department of Arts and Culture just helped me to print more copies. Maybe I need to speak with the of education as well. Well, at school we don't teach memoirs, you know, non-fiction. We always focus on fiction. But now that you ask it, it also dawns on me that we need also these stories, even if it's just taking extracts from the story and put it out for learners to read. They are not just reading isiXhosa, they're also getting information. Because I used to teach teachers at Sol. You know, I always said to them, yes, the textbook is a good resource, but the textbook was written in 2012 and you are teaching in 2022. You know, and there new stuff, new challenges that people are facing now. So instead of taking an extract from the textbook, rather something new, something current. We're talking COVID. You know, you can't be letting people reading about something that was happening in 2010 or 2009. You know, you need something that is more current, that people can relate to. You know, we need to bridge that gap between home and school. So not only will they be reading about verbs, nouns, and stuff like that, but they will also be getting information about XDR TB, about cancer, about all these others, so that when they get there, they know how to prevent them. They also know what to do when they get those diseases, and they can be able to fight them and win the battle against them.
That's very, very powerful as we draw closer to the end of our talk here today. But I remember that sometime on the 18th of July, I was there in Mthatha for a big event, and I handed a copy of my book to the MEC of, I think it was Arts and Culture and Sport. I think she was reshuffled now. But I got a sense that they were in the process of distributing books that are written, especially by people from the Eastern Cape, in the libraries and in schools just around there. So maybe it's an idea that you could look into. There's a bit of a gap, Pungan. Yandiva ngoku. It seems like we've lost Ukadebe. I think he might join us again. But we really have covered quite a lot of ground today. Apologies about the dropping off of the lines. It's just the situation as we find ourselves in. Sometimes the internet connectivity breaks down. Sometimes it's load shedding. Sometimes it's this or that problem. So, but we were talking with Dr. Lukhanyo Makenyane. Lukhanyo Elvis Makenyane, he's a writer, he's a lecturer, he is a man with a great story. He's a husband and a father, and I know that his family and his wife supports him. And we were going through the book that he has written, but also about his life story as well. out of all of that, we were just going to wrap up by talking about the actual writing process. But given the fact that we do not have him now online because, okay, I think he's coming back. Oh, Pungane, are you back?
Yes,
okay,
yes,
I can.
yes.
I was just telling them that. Okay. I was just telling them that we had really covered a lot of ground. I was just telling them that I really appreciate you and I appreciate the contribution that you're making. In just you're a preacher, a husband, a father, a great man. Now, I wanted us to wrap up with the process of writing. Just share with us how, your process of writing this book. How did you write it? Did you write every day? Did you write all at once? Did you take leave and go in some place, hide? So what was the process of writing of this book?
Yeah. Now that's another good one. Well, funny enough, at the time I was writing the book, I was also working on my PhD. And the book is about, if you look at A4 sides, about 90-something pages. And then I had my PhD, which was about 290 pages. So I had about 380 pages of isiXhosa, in almost a year.
Wow.
And I was saying myself, after that, I couldn't speak a sentence in English. I was all wrapped up in isiXhosa. The process will always differ from person to person. I think I read somewhere that write every day, even if it's just a line, even if it's just a paragraph. And one of my mentors at SPU would say, even if you come back the next day and delete the paragraph that you wrote yesterday, that's a progress, because you won't go back to it, So writing every day helps. And one other thing, I read so many novels in my life, school and outside of school, but I hadn't read too many nonfiction books, your memoirs. So before I could, while I was writing, I was also reading more about writing memoirs. How to go about the approaches. One will talk about the linear approach. If you look at the first part, it takes a linear approach. Each segment follows the other. But if you look at the second part and the third part of the book, I used the thematic approach there when I focused on certain themes. So I was writing about certain themes instead of the chronological events that happened at hospital. So I kept downloading these creative writing books and reading more, about the art of writing. The musician, those pianists, those guitarists, they read about their art. They take time to master their art. So yes, the skill would be there, but also you need to keep up with the current trends. How people are writing about these certain things, and also to it helps you to think better and expand your view. So I was reading, I was also writing, and I was also busy with my PhD at that time. So writing every day helps. I think in your situation, you spoke about a diary or keeping a journal, where you keep things around. And when I started to write this book, I think I first wrote it as about 20 or 30 pages. I thought it was just a 30-page book. And I said, it's too small. When I asked friends to read it, just read and tell me what you think. And I think probably some will know Oko. Siyabonga Jog is an advocate in PE. And he said to me, you are not giving us everything that we need. There is more to tell in your story. Go back and write more. Tell us more about what happened and give us something. So when you are writing, it's also important just to You know, you have those people around you, just to give them to read, just to see if you're making sense, just to see if you're on the right track. In your head, the story is fine, but you're not going to read your own story. People are going to read. Yes, you see. So you need to share with people, you know, give it to them to read and help them and like ask them their own honest opinions, you know. What do you think? Do you think this makes sense? What do I need to change here? And Ujogo really gave it to me. The likes of Sakum Zimboju, or Luzugo Mkhwebo, and many others. You know, they really Luzugo Matomela Ngusha. You know, they really gave it to me. You need to change this. This did not sound okay. You know, so I went back, edited it. And so the process continues. And if you keep it to yourself and think that it's a masterpiece because it sounds right to you, it might not sound right to people, you know. So yes, there are those dynamics that you need to look at. And since it's a memoir focuses on just one aspect of your life, unlike on an autobiography that starts at birth and ends, you know. So I had this story to tell. So if you want to write a book similar, have that one story to tell, that one event in your life, you know, that centers your own life, that is so packed, so much that there is something to tell people, there is something to encourage people about life. You know, the book came, the first copy, I sold the first copy on the 31st of May, 2020. And this was like 2 months, 3 months into COVID. And if you talk about COVID, it's a respiratory disease, and you talk about TB. There are similarities, though they are not the same. So the book came at the right time. Yes, it came at the right time. You know, when people were busy struggling with COVID-19.
COVID-19, yes.
That says there is a God who is faithful. Yes, there is a God who is faithful. You can pull through this. You can trust Him, even with this. I used to call it Mount Corona. You know, it was a mountain so tall that it was difficult for all of us. You know, so the processes. Yes, they probably differ from person to person, but find what works for you. Yes.
Find what works for you. Thank you, sir. Just how do people get hold of you to get the copy of this book? How do people get the copy of the book?
I have the copies with me because I self-published the book, and I sold many of the copies in 2020 and 2021. I just printed some more, but this time what I did, I had the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture helping me to print. And they printed about 100 copies, and then they took 10, and then they gave me 90. I was supposed to sell them. But most of the time I've been giving them away. Freely given, you know, free, So most of them, I have given them away so that people can read the story. Freely you have received, you can also freely give. So I do have them with me. Probably the copies are dying down now. Yes. English is running away. And people can contact me on 078 013 8791 and also 067 880 1165. Both the numbers are on WhatsApp. So you can contact me. We can courier the book to wherever you are. Yes, we can. Yeah, I think you can put it on the chat as well. The numbers, they are on the front. I think on the second page. Yes. I'm not sure if I'm able to write on the chat here.
Give me that number again.
People can contact me. It's 078
078
013
013
8791.
8791. Okay.
And then the other one is 067
067. Yeah.
880
880
1165.
1165. All right. People can have
Yes.
the
Normally it
books
goes for normally it goes for 100 rands, and then there will be courier pep. It's 60 rands, but we can always talk. We can always talk.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Man, my brother, I want to say thank you so much to you for your time. We've taken more than we had planned, but I think the conversation was quite useful to learn your story, but to educate the public, but to also encourage people to write their stories. I want to say thank you to you, and please say thank you to Mem as well. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Ndiyabulela kakhulu nam Gatyeni ngeli thuba. For
Yes,
helping
sir.
me to relive the story once more. 11 years later, you know,
Yeah.
I'm still here to say that God is good, God is faithful. I lost everything, but I regained more than what I had at that time, because
Wow.
God is faithful. Thank you so much for affording me this opportunity, and thank you as well to those who came in and be part of this afternoon. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you, sir. Enjoy your afternoon. I want to thank all our viewers at home. Please subscribe to this channel, and just make sure that you like the video and share it. Thank you so much. Enjoy the afternoon. Bye-bye. Bungan, kamandi nkosi yami, sawuthetha.
Bye-bye.
Okay, mashabat.
Kamnandi Katye, Sabule.
Sure. Cheers. Bye-bye.